This is over. You lost.
I gave you everything.
A single anonymous text had arrived at dawn. Check the penthouse suite at 8. Julian didn't realize that his every step through the lobby was being tracked by the very security cameras he had installed to protect his lies. He thought he was the hunter, but as the elevator climbed to the top floor, the invisible net was already closing around his throat. The diamond necklace in his pocket was meant for his mistress, but it would soon become the evidence that stripped him of everything. Welcome, story lovers. Before we begin, hit like and let us know in the comments which city you're watching from. His empire was a house of cards, and a cold wind was starting to blow through the cracks of his perfect deception. The velvet curtains of the Grand Horizon suite did block the chills settling in Julian's chest. He adjusted his silk tie, checking the mirror while Tiffany giggled, tossing her designer clutch onto the bed he'd paid for. "Relax, Jules," she whispered, sliding her arms around his waist. "Welcome, story lovers. Before we begin, hit like and let us know in the comments which city you're watching from. Your wife thinks you're at a conference in Dubai." Julian nodded, though his phone felt heavy. Elena was quiet, predictable, and he assumed entirely dependent on his paycheck. "Tonight is about us," Julian said, pouring vintage crystal. He had just finalized the merger that would make him the industry leader. He felt untouchable. A sharp knock shattered the silence. Julian frowned. "Room service." He opened the door. "Mr. Sterling, the board is requesting you in the ballroom. The new CEO has arrived. She specifically asked for you." Julian's blood ran cold as he walked down the marble corridor toward the ballroom. Tiffany followed him, her heels clicking like a countdown. "Is this part of the surprise?" she whispered, clutching his arm. Julian didn't answer. His mind was racing through a list of potential candidates for the CEO position. He had lobbied for months to secure the role himself, convinced that his father-in-law's retirement left the seat vacant for his taking. He pushed open the heavy oak doors, expecting a room full of applause and familiar faces. Instead, the board of directors sat in a jagged semicircle, their faces grim under the crystal chandeliers. "Julian, thank you for joining us," Chairman Vance said, his voice echoing in the hollow space. "We were just discussing the recent discrepancies in the offshore accounts." Julian felt a bead of sweat trickle down his spine. "I can explain those, Vance. They were investments for the new project." A woman stood at the far end of the long mahogany table, her back turned to the room. She was draped in a tailored charcoal suit that screamed authority. "The investments were a fiction, Julian. Just like your conference in Dubai," the woman said. The voice was calm, melodic, and terrifyingly familiar. Julian froze, his breath hitching in his throat. The woman turned slowly, her eyes sharp as glass. "Ooh," was Elena, but the soft, submissive wife he'd left at breakfast was gone. If this story is touching your heart, subscribe now. More real, powerful moments like this are coming, and the next one is unforgettable. Julian stumbled back, his hand catching the edge of a velvet chair to steady himself. "Elena, what is this? You're supposed to be at home?" Tiffany gasped beside him, finally realizing the identity of the woman at the head of the table. Elena didn't flinch. She picked up a thick leather folder and tossed it onto the mahogany surface, slid across the wood, stopping right at Julian's shaking hands. "Home is a relative term, Julian," she said, her voice devoid of the warmth he had exploited for a decade. "While you were busy playing king in hotel rooms, I was buying back the shares your father-in-law quietly put on the market." The chairman cleared his throat. "Elena owns 51% of the holding company now, Julian. She is the majority shareholder and the presiding CEO of this entire hospitality group." Julian fumbled with the folder, his eyes darting across bank statements, photos of him with Tiffany, and a detailed list of every corporate fund he'd diverted. "This is a setup," he hissed, turning to the board. "She's a housewife. She doesn't know the first thing about running a global brand." Lena stepped closer, the light catching the iron resolve in her gaze. "I ran our household budget while you squandered it. I managed your reputation while you dragged it through the mud." I've been the architect of your success from the shadows, Julian. Her phone buzzed on the table, a bright notification flashing, and now I'm the architect of your exit. Julian's face turned a ghostly shade of gray. Lena, think about our family. You can't just throw 10 years away over a misunderstanding. He tried to step toward her, reaching for the charm that had always worked before. Elena didn't move an inch. The only misunderstanding was mine, Julian. I thought your silence meant respect, but it was just a mask for your cowardice. She gestured toward the security team standing by the door. Tiffany, there is a car waiting outside to take you home. Your bags from the suite have already been packed. As for you, Julian, you are being terminated for cause. Effective immediately. You can't do this. Julian shouted, his voice cracking as the board members looked away in disgust. I built this empire. Elena leaned over the table, her shadow looming large against the gold-leafed walls. No, Julian. You inherited a seat and sat in it. I am the one who built the foundation you stood on. She signaled to the chairman, who handed her a final document. The divorce papers are in the folder. I've already frozen the accounts you thought were hidden. You leave this building with exactly what you brought into our marriage, nothing. As security escorted a broken Julian toward the exit, Elena sat in the CEO's chair for the first time. The room was silent, the power imbalance finally corrected. She looked at the city lights through the window, breathing in the scent of her own freedom. Cruelty is loud, but a woman's silence is a storm.